and welcome back to the channel. I am the Dark Light Emissary, and this episode is on the Tyranids, and the question of if they are running from anything beyond the galaxy. Now, this is another question that kind of rumbles around the community on and off, kind of a, not so much a question, I guess, but also a rumor, and it's often in some of the memes that I see. And so, the Tyranids, as far as we can tell from all of the information we've been given for them, they are not running from anything. They are not seemingly scared of anything. The Tyranids are as close to a macro example of a bacterial organism in terms of being like a hive mind, None of the individual creatures, for the most part, with the exception of a few organizing ones, have any real personality or emotion to speak of. Most of them fulfill a purpose, and it's very specific and focused, and then, it's melted back down to its component parts and repurposed into another creature. What the actual governing intelligence of the Tyranids is, and what it really wants, we don't really know. It's possible it wants nothing, just like how an ant colony, the queen doesn't exactly want anything other than for its colony to survive. And each individual ant doesn't care about anything other than doing its individual work for the colony. Tyranids, to me at least, seem to operate in very much the same way, where every bit of the colony is for its overall good. And that's what they're trying to do by coming to the Milky Way galaxy, is gain sustenance from the galaxy in the form of biomass. Now, what we do know regarding the origins of the Tyranids is nothing, really. The closest we come to an origin for them is actually started off in the Horus Heresy series of books. In one of the books, the Robot Gullman, his legion, the Ultramarines, them along with a Imperial Fist, along with a Loyalist Iron Warrior, find a device called the Pharos machine. And it's seemingly a device that houses part of the soul of a Catan, one of the Necron's gods. And this device was able to cause instant teleportation between locations without the use of the warp. So it was very useful, but it wouldn't work on command, and so they were kind of researching how to do that. Long story short, the Night Lords showed up to cause issues, and during their fighting, they overloaded the machine, and the Pharos machine shot out a gigantic, brilliant bit of light into space. And the Night Lords retreated / were defeated, and everyone kind of went back to just, the beginning of where they weren't fighting, and everyone kind of went off on their own way. And no one was the wiser on what the consequence of this would be, though. At the end of that book, it brings up that out in the dark between galaxies, in that great rift, many eyes, billions of eyes, I imagine trillions of unblinking eyes, were just watching and waiting. And they saw that light. And the moment they saw it, those eyes all atrophied and dissolved into nothing. Their job done. And creatures that hadn't moved for untold eons, possibly, started making their way towards the Milky Way galaxy at that point. And this is the first time we know of the Tyranids as a complete swarm moving towards the Milky Way galaxy to devour it, basically. And I imagine the creatures that were watching with the eyes were just, untold amounts of hive ships that the Tyranids are made up of at their biggest level. Giant tentacled squid, almost like cephalopod-looking things that bury their tentacles into the crust of worlds and absorb all the biomass after they have dumped trillions of creatures onto the world to consume and defeat all opposition to their consuming of that world. Now, One of the other rumors regarding the Tyranids is that they are possibly some sort of dead man switch that the old ones left behind, so that they would eventually arrive and, make it so the Necrons and Catan couldn't take over in the old ones instead. I don't ascribe to this theory. I think the Tyranids are possibly just a very ancient intergalactic predator species, and that they've been drifting between galaxies for a very long time, devouring whole galaxies. If we want to incorporate real world things in the galactic cluster, there's things like the Buetes Void out there. If you've never heard of the Buetes Void, it's got way less galaxies in it than the rest of the galaxy, or than the rest of our universe that science has observed. And so if you want to infer that the Tyranids possibly made their way through that part of the galactic cluster and devoured those galaxies, and that's a possibility. And so it's possible that they are the reason for that in the Warhammer setting. And I think it's possible they've roamed around for a long time, devouring galaxies, and that the gulfs are just so extreme between galaxies that they put themselves in a sort of stasis, and until there's some significant sign of life, of significant biomass in a galaxy, they won't move towards it until that point. Now, the Tyranids, there is some earlier signs of them showing up before the 41st millennium, but it seems like scouting forces or just vestiges of the Hive fleets being closer than they normally were to begin with, followed then by the great Hive tendrils that have shown up in the 41st and 42nd millennium. And we still have not seen the full forces of the Tyranids. Their full tendrils have not sunk their teeth into the galaxy quite yet. And I don't know if we'll ever see a resolution to them, simply because, like with so many things in the 41st millennium, they wouldn't want to get rid of an army, at its base level, like on our level as players and lovers of the lore and all that. But also because I don't know if there is a reasonable way to defeat them. There is way too many of them, seemingly enough to blot out, entire stars with their biomass when they're in full force, showing up somewhere. Unless you could figure out what the source of their hive mind is and somehow cause a feedback on it or something like that, I don't see a way to defeat the Tyranids ultimately. The other way, I guess, would be if the Chaos Gods won first, because the Tyranids do not seem to like the warp at all. They seem to have some sort of presence in it with the shadow over the warp that they can cause, but they seem to want to block off anyone from it when they invade. They don't want anyone to take advantage of it, and their creatures seem to not really exactly use it. But they do adapt to defeating forces of chaos and psychic users. Ultimately, I think that with the Tyranids, they are meant to be a unnegotiable, unknowable, truly alien force in the galaxy. Out of all of the Xenos species, they are the most alien and the most unknowable. And I kind of hope that we never know too much about them. Out of most of the species in the galaxy, the Tyranids, their motives, their goals, their lack thereof of that, we should never be able to peer too deeply into the mind of these true aliens, in my opinion, at least. And so that's really it for this, really. I just wanted to kind of put that out there, my thoughts on it. So before I wrap this one up, first off, just want to wish you all a happy holiday season so far, and a happy new year to each of you. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the support you've shown this channel so far. We are closing in on 400 subscribers, and we are so close to that goal, and that's pretty amazing for me to see. I was hoping for, to get this channel going for sure when I started it, but it's still really cool to see that happen. And if you haven't subscribed, I just thank you for spending time on my videos in general. But I do hope that one day you may choose to subscribe if you so choose. And so I thank each and every one of you for the time you spend here. I've always wanted to be able to have a way to share more with people that also love the Warhammer universe like I do. And that can sometimes be hard to find in our personal lives. And so I always kind of wanted to build a community of like-minded people that love to talk about the lore and discuss it. With that being said, there will be a Discord link to my Discord if you do want to further discuss with us. We have a decent little community going that's very mellow and low-key. And so if you want to be a part of that and have a good place to discuss Warhammer, we would love to have you there. So as always, bring your light into the dark places. Please leave a comment if you'd like to request a future video topic or just talk about the subject of the video or anything else really. And please subscribe and leave a like if you'd like to as well. And I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.